Okay, this is a walkthrough for our homework for week 9, the SPSS portion of it. I have a blank SPSS data file window open because the first thing we ask you to do is to take the data from problem number 21 for chapter 9 and use SPSS to test and verify the conclusions of the researchers. So we're going to put all the data of one variable in a single column and all the data of a second variable in the second column. So the two variables that we have are amount of saccharin flavored water consumed by rats, and our first rat had 4, second rat had 5, third rat had 1, and the fourth rat had 3. And those are all in the group of rats that were made sick with a dose of lithium chloride. So we're going to call this group, we're going to code it as 1, 1, 1, 1, whoops, missed. There we go. So they are in group 1, and we'll show you how to code that in a minute after finishing reading the data so that it means more than just 1 for you. And the second group had 7, and 12, 8, and 11 amounts of saccharin flavored water. Not sure what unit, that's okay, it's not important. And they're just in group 2, 2, 2, and 2. So all the rats here in group 2 were the control group rats. They did not receive the lithium chloride, and all the rats in group 1 were the experimental group. They did receive the lithium chloride. So we're going to go to variable view and rename our variables. First one is, let's just call it water consumed, and you can't add a space. SPSS will get mad at you if you try to add a space between words. You can add underscores if you'd like. And the second variable will be group. So that's our grouping variable. That tells us which group the rats belong to. So a value of 1 we said referred to those in the experimental group that were made sick. So we could just call this made sick. And a value of 2 were the rats in the control group, so they were not made sick. So those experimental versus control are made sick and not made sick. However you'd like to label it, just to get your own bearing for it is good. Make sure you do this anytime you have your own data and use a dummy code. Dummy code is where you use numbers to refer to a categorical data. Make sure that in variable view you add those values so you know what they mean later. Inevitably, if you do not label your values, you will forget what they were, and then you'll have to do a lot of work to go back and find which groups were labeled as what. So don't make your future self have to go through that. Be kind to your future self. Alright, our data is set up for testing, so we'll go to Analyze, down to Compare Means, and these are independent samples t-test. It's 2 different groups of rats that we're comparing, and we are looking at the test variable of how much water they consumed. It goes up here, and the grouping variable down here, and the grouping variable slot. And then we define the groups, so we just tell SPSS what our dummy code system was, and group 1 was labeled as 1, group 2 was labeled as 2. Click continue, OK. And then that creates a test statistic for us. Here's our t-value, and all that good stuff that you're going to need to verify the researchers' conclusions. One other thing about SPSS, when you click on a variable or a piece of data that has been coded or dummy coded, you can see its text value, and you can also see its numeric value. One way to switch in between viewing the numeric versus the text value that you have is to click on this icon here. It's like arrows pointing to numbers versus letters, and then that changes the data that you see back into that numeric value or back into that text value. Alright, the next question asks you to open up this data file, which is the employee data, and it's saved in the weekly content for this week. Let's see, what do we want to do? Just move this over here. Oh, can you see it anymore? No, you can't. I'll have to move this one over here. Okay. Okay, cool. So now it's asking us to just calculate the descriptive statistics and answer questions about salary 1000. But it's also asking us about differences in salaries earned for men and women. The researcher asks if the beginning salaries for men and women are different. So we're going to do a couple of things. First, we want to make sure that when we compare our descriptive statistics, that we have it organized by gender, by the gender variable that we have. And in order to do that, you go to Data, Split File, and then you can click on Compare Groups and move gender over into this file, or this box that says groups are based on what? On the gender variable. So now all of the different categories that we have for gender will be how the data are displayed separately when we ask SPSS to give us the descriptive statistics. Okay, so after you click OK, you should have in your output something that says dataset, activate dataset, whatever number you have open, sort cases by gender, and it says split file layered by gender. So it's splitting output by that variable. Now we go to descriptives, descriptive statistics, descriptives ... click on it, and you're going to move salary over from the descriptives box into the variables box, and you're going to click on all the things that you think you'll need. So standard deviation, variance, standard error for the mean. The mean is automatically selected. Minimum and maximum are also automatically selected. So just make sure you have what you think you need to answer the questions. And click OK, and then OK. And now we see this new descriptives box down here with the output organized by what each person was coded as, whether female or male. So the females, there were 216 people in that group. The mean of their salary was this. The standard error for the mean is that. Here's their standard deviation, and this is their variance. Same concept with the males. 258 were identified as male. The mean for the group of males salaries was 41. Standard error, standard deviation, variance. So that is all the information that you'll need to calculate, well, the mean difference. So that from that, the pooled variance, which if you'll recall, looks like, let's see. Sharing. I'm trying to. Yeah, thank you. Okay, share. So this is our slides from this week's lecture. So remember to calculate pooled variance. If you have the same number of participants or subjects in each group, you'd use this. But if you recall from the output, there are more males in the data set than females, so you're going to have to use this formula. You're going to have to use, this formula for unequal sample sizes. After you calculate your pooled variance, then you stick it into the calculation for the estimated standard error for the difference. And again, that should be mean 1 minus mean 2. But that is correct right here. So your pooled variance divided by sample size of each group, and then summed and square rooted. After you calculate that, which will not be 82.66, you'll plug in your estimated standard error for the difference into your t obtained to calculate an independent t-test, and you'll use the mean from group 1, whichever group you're calling 1, minus group 2, minus the null. Again, in this case, the null would say that the means are the same, so that would be 0 here, divided by whatever you've calculated for the estimated standard error for the difference. And that's it. Okay, and then we ask you to verify the answer you got by running the same analysis as a t-test. So let's just show you how to do that real quick. I'm going to pause sharing and switch over to SPSS again. Alright, so I want to make sure that I know what the groups were coded as. So to check that, I go to variable view, I find my gender variable, click on values, and I see, value F equals female and M equals male. So they're not numeric values. This is a string value in this case, or a string type. So when we make the grouping variable in the t-test box, we'll have to use something other than 1 and 2. So you go compare means, independent samples t-test. The variable that we're interested in with the means of interest are the salary, how much are people getting paid. We want to compare salaries based on gender, so that goes in the grouping variable. Define our groups. Group 1 was, we can call it F for female, and group 2 can be M for male. It doesn't matter which one you put first. You could also have M for group 1 and F for group 2. Just make sure that you know which one you put in. We go continue and OK. And then it gives us this warning which says independent samples test not performed for gender because this variable is specified both as a grouping variable and as a split variable. So if you recall, we asked SPSS to divide all of the output based off of the gender variable. So right now it's trying to run independent samples t-test that basically isolates all of the females into one t-test and all the males into a separate t-test, which doesn't work. So we have to allow SPSS to compare both of those groups together. So go back to split file and we say analyze all cases, do not create groups. So now we have split files off, and SPSS should give us a t-test here. So just go back to here, everything will be the same. Click OK, and ta-da! So we have group statistics. These should be the same as this descriptive statistics box up here, except this one has a few statistics that don't appear in this one. But those that do appear should have the same values. And then here's our independent samples t-test. Here's the t-value, the total degrees of freedom for the t-value, significance level, mean difference, standard error of the difference, and confidence interval of the difference. That's pretty neat. Okay. And then write up a conclusion in APA style paragraph. And there's an example in your slides for how you can do that. Alrighty, there you go. Good luck, and you can do it.